All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program. You know, we're talking Johnny Cuba, European roots with that Caribbean soul. Pick up a refreshing German lager in a can. Go to johnnycuba.us. Use the Johnny locator. You can find the nearest location to you. Make sure you always drink responsibly. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us now is our great friend, Joy Taylor, star of FS1's Speak. Hello, Joy. How are you?
I'm great, Zaz. Oh, I don't get Hollywood anymore.
I think every now and then, and this happens in pro wrestling. The character needs to adapt. It needs to. You got to mix it up every few. If you stay with the same character, things become a little bit stale. So I didn't mention Hollywood today. I feel like maybe because you're obviously in the driver's seat now with Speak. So I feel like, you know what? We're mixing it up a little bit now. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe I should do like a heel turn,
Well, Hollywood Joy Taylor was the heel turn.
Oh, okay.
That was the heel.
Face now.
I think you're babyface now. Yes, excellent job. That's the point, Joy. Are you enjoying? Let's do it this way. I was going to say, are you enjoying Speak right now? You have two new co-hosts, but I think the best way to do it is, what is the most different about your show now than what it was?
I mean, the guys all have such different personalities. I think what's really cool about these three, because we have Michael Irvin in Monday through Wednesday on Speak.
Oh, he's a maniac. I mean, you see him at the end of that, I guess it was the Canes and Cal.
I was there.
A 60-year-old guy is on all fours barking in the end zone.
Listen, Michael is one of one, as we are very familiar with in the Miami area. He cares about what he cares about, and he cares very deeply about the Miami Hurricanes. Truly, very much. So it was his rally position, as he explained. And it worked. So here we are. Canes 6-0, can't ask for more. They've all known each other for a really long time, which I didn't realize when we started. Like, Paul and Keyshawn are both LA natives. So Keyshawn's from Crenshaw and Paul is from Inglewood. So they've known each other for a very long time. And Keyshawn and Michael have had a relationship for many years in the league. And I think he would attribute a lot of mentorship from Michael to him. So like, they all really know each other very well, which makes things super easy for me because I'm kind of the new one. I knew Michael, obviously, but we never worked together. But I hadn't worked together. I really knew Keyshawn or Paul before we started working together. So it makes it very easy for me to like not have to kind of introduce them to each other. And they like all have inside jokes and are constantly fucking with each other on air, which is kind of funny. And I think it shows different levels of their personalities too, because Keyshawn can come across as like very serious. He's like this big guy, and and he's legitimately a teddy bear. Like, he's always joking. He's actually not serious. And it's like this really interesting dynamic that comes out with all of them because they have all known each other for so long. They have that rapport, which is cool.
So you're enjoying it. You like the change. I mean, I noticed how often do you guys have guests? I noticed you have guests on the show now, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, we usually have about a guest a week. And then when Michael's out, we'll usually bring either Jordan Schultz or TJ Hishmanzada. We've had Gerald McCoy in studio, Tyrann Mathieu. Like, we'll have guests, guys, usually during the middle of the week when they have some off time or slower time, will join us on air. But yeah, we usually do once or twice a week. We'll have a guest.
And with NBA season rolling around, is anything like, are you adding anything to the show? You got some new features you're looking forward to because it's NBA coming up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously having Paul is a huge asset for us in the NBA space. So once the season starts, we'll definitely be leaning into his expertise and, stories and all of that. We'll definitely have more features, and we'll be doing a lot of NBA once the season gets going. And there's some cool floating storylines around there. And then obviously I've already begun prepping Paul for talking about the Heat. So he's very aware. I will not be holding back just because he is now my friend.
Have you seen much of the Netflix series Starting Five with Jimmy Butler? And have you seen? Because I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen some excerpts, and I was surprised to see that Jimmy Butler really, who's a super personal guy, does a private guy, excuse me, very private person, lets everybody behind the curtain and talks about his father dying and, how he missed so many games last year and how it affected him. And it happened, go into the playoffs he's dealing with. And as a result, I think we're going to get a huge season out of Jimmy Butler this year. He's already played in the first 2 preseason games. He hadn't played in a preseason game in 2 years. I think we're getting a huge year from Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I haven't started Starting Five yet. I'm going to, though. I've seen some clips from it as well, and I was actually surprised by that also, because Jimmy has he has this huge personality, but he's kind of always fucking with everybody in a way, so we know that is an element of his personality. And that's why I love those shows so much, because they're usually guys that we don't get too much behind the curtain coverage of to begin with, and don't actually know too much about their personal lives. But yeah, I'm hoping that obviously we have a healthy season and all the younger players are stepping up. But Jimmy is just, everything goes through Jimmy. If Jimmy is not there, if Jimmy is not healthy, if Jimmy's not supported, then they're just not a successful team. So I think we will get a big season out of him.
And tell you something I was embarrassed about. I admit this. I admitted this on my show here the other day. So I'm traveling every week, of course, for College Football Tailgate on ESPN Radio. And so I'm going to all these different venues every single weekend. This coming weekend, I'm in Austin for Texas and Georgia, which is going to be great. This past weekend, I was at Red River Rivalry at the State Fair of Texas. And I realized this a week or 2 ago, and I'm embarrassed to admit it. I didn't realize how great college football is. That's the admission. I didn't realize. I'm in sports for a living, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't realize how great it was, because I was tabbed to do this show, and obviously I want to do it. And then it's all right, I'll keep it to myself that college football has never been my strong point. So I'm going to have to really gear up. And I'm practically an expert now, Joy, don't mistake. But I'm going to have to really gear up for this. And part of it, going to these different campuses every week. And it's one thing to be honed in on your team, be it the Hurricanes or be it the Gators. But when you're following all of it, it's so good, college football. Even just this past weekend, I'm sure you were watching your nephew and LSU, and they pull out the game in overtime. There you go. See, you're wearing the shirt there. And they pull out the game in overtime against Ole Miss, and the crowd's going crazy. And it's a regular season game. You don't get they care so much more, the crowd, than the NFL is fantastic. It's not knocking the NFL, but they care so much more. You don't get these atmospheres in the NFL. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that I didn't really get it. I didn't really realize it till now.
Well, this is why I get into this argument about college football with people all the time. College football is a different sport than professional football. And everyone always pushes back on that. And I'm like, you're just factual. You're just wrong. You're wrong. It has a different fan base. It has a different level of pressure during the regular season. The coaching, the facilities are different. Do
you think the 12-team playoff is taken away from these regular season games at all? Because I do not.
No, I don't. And I do think we might have some pretty gross upsets in the first, or not upsets, but some pretty gross blowouts in the first week of it. I'm okay with it, because what I am so fucking sick and tired of hearing about is how deserving this one team is that didn't get in. And now we'll be fine, because there's no way you're going to be arguing to the death for the 14th best team in college football. Right. That's just not going to happen. So, and you're looking at the poll now, it's all the teams that have always been great in college football are there. So nothing's changed. There'll be a couple teams that get in that had really good seasons that deserve, and they'll either show that they deserve to be there or they won't. So I'm all for the expansion. But yeah, it's just it is a different sport. It's different levels of players. The regular season is different. The rivalries are different. To your point, the fan interaction is different, like how people treat these games. I mean, Mason, everywhere I go, people bring up Mason. And it obviously is because he's a great player, but it's also that win over Alabama, which was years ago now. Like, he was a freshman, he's a junior now. Like, and people are still bringing up that one game. So yeah, it's completely different. The way that a young player can come in and dominate and make otherworldly athletic plays is just different from the NFL. Like, the physicality of the NFL is so different. So like, you're not just gonna like overpower another player as a young player. Like, there's so many different elements to it that make it just a completely different sport. And then on top of that, obviously, like, the gap between the best NFL team and the worst NFL team is like this much. Like, it's this much. The best team, undefeated team, can lose to the worst team on any given Sunday. But we know that because every single player on every single team is a professional player. They are the 1% of 1%. In college, the gap between talent is massive. That's why those upsets are so dramatic, because there's no reason that this team with this level of talent and coaching and facilities, all the stuff, should be beating one of these top great schools. Like, the talent disparity is magnificent. So there's just an extra level of drama to it.
Yeah, it's like I'm embarrassed to admit I didn't realize how good it is. And it's a really cool thing. Joy, let's do some NFL here. Now, I'm going to ask you for your top 5 NFL teams going into week 7. I'm going to let that marinate for a moment here, right? Going into week 7, we're going to have, because I love a good power ranking. I always give my list, all right? But you're going to give your top 5 NFL teams going into week 7. We're going to do that in a moment here. First up, though, give me some thoughts here on Caleb Williams, all right? They go to London. They crush the Jaguars. I thought Caleb Williams was going to be awesome from week number 1. I was wrong. It started in week number 4, all right? So now for the rest of his career, the Bears have an awesome quarterback. Give me some thoughts on Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I have no expectations for rookie quarterbacks ever. It just, like, if Caleb had a basic year, it would mean absolutely nothing to me. If he was bad for most of the year and like had 2 great games at the end of the season, means nothing to me. He looks great. That's great. Like, I don't have expectations of rookie quarterbacks. I know that's not fun, but it's just, for all of the talk of like how great you are in college, as I said, it is a different sport. He's playing against the best athletes in the world at this sport. Grown-ass men who have been playing defense in this league for years. Their bodies are different. The speed is different. Their knowledge of the game is different. The schemes that the defensive coordinators are dialing up are different. It is just different. And so when they struggle early, it is never a surprise to me. So all the panic about Caleb Williams was just so overblown to me. I'm like, it doesn't matter how good he is. He on day 1 is not better than these NFL defenders are. He's not. And that's perfectly okay. There's no reason that he should be. It's reasonable, actually, that he would stumble a little bit as he's adjusting to the speed of the game, as he's understanding this play this spin around thing that I used to do in college and get away from people. Can't do that in the NFL. You don't have the time to do that in the NFL. You can't hold the ball that long. It's going to be holding calls and all kinds of other things. There's adjustments that they make. And as much as you talk about it in preseason and you talk about it in meetings, until you get out there and you're actually playing, it's all just talk. So I'm never surprised when rookies struggle. It doesn't matter to me when rookies struggle, but I have always felt like Caleb Williams was going to be a really good NFL player. I think the panic around, or the expectations, I should say, of the Bears was also very unfair to him. Okay, we brought in all these great players. We've put him in the best situation. He should have a CJ Stroud like year, and they should win a playoff game. And maybe
He's going to. He's going to.
Maybe they will. Well, he's going to have a good statistical season for sure.
Yeah.
As far as them like going to the playoffs and winning a playoff game, I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But like, why would that matter? CJ Stroud also plays in the AFC South, and the Jacksonville Jaguars had a stranglehold on the division and then decided to just absolutely shit the bed at the end of the year.
Well, I don't think it's fair to compare him with the end result at the end of the season to CJ Stroud, but I think it's completely fair to compare that production-wise, he should be able to do what Stroud did.
Yeah, yes. But if he didn't, it doesn't mean that he's not going to be a great player one day. So I'm not surprised he's doing well, because he is a really talented guy who's been in the spotlight and been producing in college for years. He didn't just like poof, pop on the scene. He went to a good situation in at least talent-wise with the Bears, and it seems like they're starting to figure things out to put him in the best position to be successful. And I think he's adjusting to the speed of the game. So I'm excited for it. I've been looking forward to the Bears being an actual functional, competitive, modern offense, because that fan base and team is just one of the cornerstone franchises of the NFL, and them just being a dud is not helpful for anyone. So I think it's great that that division is crazy now.
They're going to get 3 playoff teams in that division. Yeah. Joy, the Dallas Cowboys. What the fuck?
The fuck, man. I don't know. Okay, I'll say this.
I totally thought McCarthy was getting fired the day. I really did.
I do not think they should fire McCarthy. I think that'd be a huge mistake. Huge mistake. The reason that the Cowboys are struggling, to me, is one, you're missing 2 of your best defensive players. And the defense was already up and down this season. You can't stop the run at all. And that is not a new problem. That was a problem last year as well. So you didn't do the proper adjustments to fix that. They can't run the ball, which they also did nothing to fix during the offseason. Like, you looked at that running back room going into the year like, yeah, this is definitely going to work.
I mean, you look at Baltimore. How did they not make a big play for Derrick Henry?
That's what I'm saying. So, like, it's not like they're – and Derrick Henry was just one of the names that are out there. Like, there were opportunities for Dallas to go out there and do it. And then you're talking about the money, like – okay, they had to get CeeDee Lamb done. They had to get Dak done. They drag these situations out forever. They always end up caving. They always end up spending more money than they need to spend. Get those deals done early. Like, get them done early. The number is always going to go up for stars. And I really feel like it's almost a conspiracy where they want to drag these out just so we continue to talk about the Cowboys. And it's like it always ends up hurting the team, is what, like, the actual team and actual winning. My thing with the Cowboys is this: there's so much around the Cowboys that has absolutely nothing to do with what goes on the field, and all that other stuff does actually affect what goes on the field. Like Jerry constantly talking, constantly adding storylines, constantly adding things that people have to ask about, talking about quarterback controversies and when he's going to pay Dak, when he's going to pay CeeDee Lamb, not paying Derrick Henry because you couldn't afford things. Like, all that stuff matters. And they're not a winning football team. Like, they're a regular season team that doesn't have success in the playoffs. The expectations every single year is Super Bowl, which is a nonsense level of expectation, not just for this team, but for this culture within a team. And I think that last year was honestly the year that I could believe they would be able to do that. They had 9 All-Pros. They were taking the ball away constantly on defense. They had a really good defense. They were winning during the regular season. You get home field advantage and you get absolutely knocked by the Packers at home. Like, Dak Prescott has the best year of his career. None of it matters. So I don't think it's on Mike McCarthy. I think some of it's on Mike McCarthy because obviously blame has to go around. But I don't think firing Mike McCarthy is somehow going to help them be able to stop the run.
I don't think so either. I just think he's a lousy coach.
I don't think he is a lousy coach. I think they've won 12 games in a row, 12 games, 3 years in a row. Like, Dak Prescott, as I said, was an MVP finalist on an All-Pro, had the best year of his career last year. I think he is a good coach. I think they don't actually have the playmakers, particularly on offense, to compete at a super high level. It's CeeDee Lamb or nothing. And Dak is not showing up when he needs to show up. That's like the nicest way that I can put it.
Dak's body language is brutal. Oh, it's so bad out there. So bad. I don't want to make this into fire this guy, because that's not the type of show that I've ever really done. But let me tell you something, Joy. Watching the end of that Philadelphia Eagle Cleveland Brown game with Sirianni yelling at the crowd, Joy, they won the game. I would have fired him right then. I would have fired him in that moment. Joy, read the room. You're in Philadelphia. All right. Forget that.
You barely beat the spiraling Browns.
Barely beat the Browns. Forget that Philadelphia. Forget that fans are allowed to boo when your team's not playing well. But you're in Philadelphia. Read the fucking room. He's yelling at the crowd, holding his hand up to his ear like he's the Hulkster, but bragging that you just beat the Browns. You're not winning a Super Bowl with that as your head coach. I would have fired him right there.
Yeah, I'm not a fire guy either.
I'm not.
What I said about Sirianni is
that was clown. Joy, that was a clown. We were watching a clown.
There's just, you have to behave a certain way as the leader of a team,
right,
and like the CEO of an organization,
right,
which a coach is. Like,
right,
we ask this from players all the time. Like, we crush guys like Stephon Diggs for going like this when they're struggling, and that person's a diva and destructive on the sideline and all this stuff, which I don't like. I don't care, actually. I think players should be emotional and care. But when you're the coach, you are not allowed to get that high or low. Like you can't get that elevated or lose your shit in these moments. Like I've had this thing with Philadelphia where like we're constantly talking about the relationships in Philadelphia. We're talking about the locker room energy, and Jalen Hurts and Sirianni have to get like they get in harmony in the bye week. I'm like, why is there so much disconnect? Like, you guys are professionals. How is all this constantly happening? Like, last year, okay, you had a down year, some stuff went on, fine. But we're still talking about this, and it's like when he does stuff like that, when Sirianni does stuff like that, I'm like, oh, okay, this tracks. Because who behaves like that? One of the questions I ask constantly, who is this for? Who is that action for? It's not for the fans, because fans are allowed to boo. Fans are not allowed to harass you. Fans are not allowed to throw things at you. Fans are not allowed to physically threaten you or call you slurs or abuse you. Fans are allowed to boo. You pay a shit ton of money to go to these games. You give an afternoon of your life. You bring your kids to these games. You're
tied at 13 to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy. I do not understand why that would be an action that you feel is justified as a head coach. Like, I don't get it. I did not like it. No.
Joy, the time has come. Enough pussyfooting around. Let's get to Joy Taylor's top 5 NFL power rankings going into week 7. Give me the 5 best teams in the league going into week 7, according to Joy Taylor, star of Speak on FS1. But start with number 5. Go backwards for dramatic effect. Start with number 5.
Miami Dolphins.
Come on. No, you're not doing that. Come on. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. I'm so down on the Dolphins, Joy. I really am.
How I feel.
I'm so down on the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel's act isn't so cute when the team sucks and they can't score touchdowns. I am so down on the Dolphins.
We'll get to the Dolphins in a second. Okay, so 5, I am going to go with Houston.
Okay.
4, I'm going to go with the Lions.
Okay.
3, I am going to go with the Ravens.
Okay.
2, Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
And the best team in the league is still the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. All right. So number 1, Kansas City. 2, Minnesota. Is that what you said? 3, Baltimore. 4, Detroit. 5,
Texans.
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That's a good list.
I think it's a good list.
That's a good list.
There are people who would argue the moving around. I will entertain moving around the 3 through 5. I wouldn't fight anyone on any of that. But the Vikings have really great wins.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Like they've been at one since week 1. The one thing I will say about Detroit, though, and I like Detroit a lot, tough to lose Hutch. Tough.
I think you got to go out and make a trade. I think you got to go get somebody.
I think you do too.
I think you got to do something big. Like their window is wide open because nobody's afraid of anyone in that NFC. Like I understand what you're saying. Minnesota's 5-0. I get it. I think they're really good too. And San Francisco isn't the big bad that we thought they were going to be. If I'm Detroit, I can't let that derail my season. I go out, I make a big move. Maybe I call Vegas and try and get Max Crosby. I don't know, but I'm trying to get somebody who can rush the passer.
Yeah, and they were already light at that position anyway because of injuries. So yeah, I'm with you. It's really heartbreaking because he's so good and so fun to watch, but like he's out. Like he's gone for the season, and you've got to have that. I mean, he was so impactful in that game. Like forget throughout the season, he was having an unbelievable season. In that game, he mattered. So yeah, that's tough for the Lions, even coming off of that really impressive win, but that's just a huge loss.
You got something you want to say on the Dolphins on the way out here?
Well, I mean, I think this is, I don't call people geniuses lightly. I actually don't think that we should ever call people geniuses unless they have a body of work that proves it. I feel about the Dolphins the way I felt about the Jets last year, which is you've put together this roster that you feel can compete. Maybe we're not positive that they're like Super Bowl contenders, but you feel like this is a competitive roster. This is a team that has expectations this year. You've got your guy, you've got your playmakers, you've made your offseason moves, and you lose your starting quarterback. Now, part one of this is, I mean, how dare you not have an actual backup quarterback? In 2024, it to me is it's professional negligence that you don't have a functioning, like quality backup quarterback. You see it around the league everywhere. There is a real possibility at some point your backup quarterback is going to need to play and win games.
It's a terrible job.
And that's for guys who are rarely injured. Tua has missed time. It's completely reasonable, but that is a position that you would invest in. I suggest that every team should invest in one every single year. I mean, backup quarterback has never been more valuable. So to not have that, particularly knowing Tua's history, is negligence.
Well, they thought they had that in Skylar Thompson, which really makes you question what's going on there. That in 3 years under this system, they thought Skylar Thompson was capable, and he's fucking terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I think it's negligence. Like I'm not in that building. Obviously, neither of us are. But like, come on, it was just an oversight. Like there's an oversight, or to your point, you don't know how to evaluate talent. It's one or the other. And then, okay, so you lose to all right, go get someone. Go make a trade for a quarterback. You need to do that. You can't sit here and tell me that you are doing that. Like, with all due respect, Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley are going to go out there and win games with this roster at that level. That's just not. It's.
Well, I mean, Tua's not out for the year. He's going to be back week 8.
Okay, are we ready to talk about what he looked like in that game before he got injured? Because it was an atrocity.
Right. Okay, but then you're talking about, is there somebody out there that's better than Tua?
No. But we don't know what Tua's going to look like when he comes back. We know what he looked like before. And the Dolphins are not, they're just not, this is not a serious competitive team. Like, when is Tua coming back? He's coming back in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we think so. To me, you made the mistake of not having a backup quarterback. Go out there and get somebody. Make moves. It's the same thing that happened last year with the Jets. They were like, oh, no, like, Zach Wilson will be fine. Why the fuck would Zach Wilson be fine? I was like, this is not a serious conversation anymore. Like, we don't need to talk about the Jets. The Jets they're out. Like, just thank you for coming. You had 4 nice plays, and that's the end of the season. So, I don't know. I'm just very frustrated. I really wish they had, prepared for this more. They weren't prepared. in any way, which is negligence. And 2, we're just like, okay, well, we're just gonna ride this out for as long as 2 is out. And it's just like, okay, we don't need to talk about the Dolphins anymore. They're not gonna. This is another lost season. It's a wrap, and it's due to decision making. So,
Joy, you were excellent as always.
thanks.
What movies have you seen recently? Are you watching any TV, or have you already finished Netflix?
I need to get to The Penguin. Have you started The Penguin?
I haven't started it yet. I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah, I need to get to The Penguin. So that's like the next on my list. I watched Nobody Wants This, which is super cute.
Oh, we watched it here. I mean, come on, it's a Jewish household. We watched it right away. Loved it.
Super, super cute. Were you offended?
No.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, you're saying that because, you know what? I know what you're referencing, because I think somebody did a story how there are some rabbis who were offended at I guess the way the way Jewish mothers, I think, are being portrayed, right?
Oh.
Is that it? Is that the controversy?
I don't know. Like, someone asked, I was talking to someone about it, and they were like, I've heard it's very anti-Semitic. And I was like, didn't read that way for me, but I am not Jewish, so maybe.
Well, that's crazy. And it depicts Jews in the absolute dead-on perfect way. I mean, like the show is spot on. My wife and I saw that criticism, and we looked at each other. We were like, the show was totally accurate about everything.
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good pulse for that stuff, and was like, yeah, I don't know, it didn't read that way for me at all.
Great show. Great show.
Yeah, so I really love that show. I'm watching Vikings. Vikings Valhalla is my soft porn show, and I finished that. So I'm now watching. I didn't watch the original Vikings, so I'm watching that as well.
My wife and I just watched Your Honor with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Can't do it?
Can't do it. It's too intense. Like I started like the season 1, and I was like, fuck no, this is gonna ruin my week. Like every time it's excellent. It's legitimately excellent, but it's too much pressure for me. Like the tense moments were done so well that I was like, oh, this is gonna stress me out. Did you watch Presumed Innocent?
Which one is that again?
With Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
So good.
Really good. Yep. Liked it a lot. Liked it a lot.
Yeah, so we're pretty much caught up. Did you see The Joker?
No, not yet. Did you?
I haven't either. Everyone hates it, and
well, because people, I guess, didn't know that it was a musical, right?
Why is it a musical?
I don't know. It's a musical.
I mean, I love a musical, but like, why? I don't know.
I'm not as into The Joker as everybody else was the first one. Like, the first one's good, whatever. All right, I'm not running out to see this one. I'll see it whenever I see it, probably at home, you know?
Yeah, it was an unpopular opinion of mine as well, which I've kind of kept close to the chest because people really don't like it. But yeah, the first Joker was good.
It's fine.
There were a lot of choices made in that movie that I was like, I wouldn't have done that. But I want to see it. I'm with you. I'm probably gonna wait till it's at home. And I love going to the movies. I love an excuse to go to the movies.
I love going to the movies too. So lastly here, one movie that's out in the theater right now. There's actually a few horror movies that I want to see that are in the theater right now, and I'll get to. Like, I got to go see Smile 2. It looks fucking great.
No, absolutely.
Oh my God, we love the horror movies here. Got to go see Smile 2. But there's another movie out in the theater right now with Demi Moore called Substance. All right, do you know what I'm talking about?
My friend Monique from What We Watch is obsessed with it. She was like, you must go see this.
I want to see it, but I'm scared. I'm scared to see it because it's supposed to be like really over the top and disgusting. And it's like, I'm scared. I'm scared to go see it, but I have to see it because I got to know what happens.
I don't know if I'm going to see it. I'm not a big, like, obviously, like, I couldn't even get through Your Honor. Like, I like tense stuff, but like, I got to pick and choose it when I tap in. So
this movie is supposed to be crazy with Demi Moore.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's what she said. She said it's nuts. So
I'm scared. I don't know if I could do it.
I don't do horror movies at all, though.
All right.
Hocus Pocus is what I'm going to be doing for Halloween this year, as I always do.
It's not a horror movie. Good job, Joy. Plug a bunch of stuff. Go ahead.
Thanks. Follow me at Joy Taylor Talks. Watch me on Speak 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern on FS1 with myself, Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Paul Pierce. And check out my foundation, Joy Taylor Foundation, and follow my podcast, 2 personal podcasts. Go subscribe on YouTube.
Great job, Joy. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Az.